Hello, everyone. This is Matthew Brand. This is Detroit Mithras, episode 6. If you have not checked out Magnum Creed on Amazon, please do so. And moving on to the subject, I want to talk about the freakouts, the meltdowns, and the shutdowns people have. When you talk about debating these, how do you call them, SJWs, the snowflakes, far left, people have a lot of different ways of expressing them. I don't live like in California or Oregon, so they're not as big an issue out here. I mean, we have Ann Arbor. But other than that, really what you have is people who, you get in a debate with them, they're proven wrong, right? Usually it's in something involving rights, right? And they're proven wrong. They don't really know what they're talking about. And instead of saying like, oh, I didn't know that, or I'll look deeper into it, they freak out, right? They throw stuff, they hit, they, grab people. They have a meltdown and they cry in the corner, or they shut down, just ignore you and start, acting like you're not even there. And that, I wouldn't consider that normal behavior not too long ago, but now it's becoming more prevalent. Like it's becoming typical. Not everybody does it, and I wouldn't say it's healthy behavior, but it's becoming a lot more typical as young people aren't as very well read or educated with history. Somewhere along the lines, history became like this bad subject that everybody avoided, and I don't like it because history will tell you exactly what will happen if you go down a certain route. Every thing that has happened before, there's nothing new under the sun, right? So and some people think, oh well, history is like, oh well, and we're more civilized or we're more advanced, and that people are still people. I don't know, somehow people think they have gotten a better brain over time. Like, we have not evolved. Evolution takes millions of years. We are the same dumbasses we were 100 years ago. And please understand that World War One and two were 100 years ago, right? So you had the Cuban Missile Crisis. The 7 Years War was way before that, but the American Revolution, the Civil War, slavery, all that stuff, yes, it happened a few hundred years ago, but it's not that humanity has evolved. We've just had technological advancements. Humanity itself hasn't evolved, and history repeats itself. People have heard that. You don't even always have to look at somebody who's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. You will see those repeats in people who are just older than you, who have taken similar paths. You just have to find people who've taken similar paths as you and see where that leads in the end. And what that leads me to is the people who having these freakouts, right? Like I said, throwing stuff or whatever, or meltdowns, crying in the corner, or, whatever. I noticed that habit from people who, I don't want to say took too many drugs, but and I know this sounds very insulting to the SJWs or whatever, but basically people who had some type of way have not had to deal with anxiety in their life, right? Yes, it's more prevalent now, but it's not like there weren't people like that before. And these people typically, like, they either had a mental disorder, right? Like they're touched upstairs, or they have some type of, how should I put it? They've lived a life that was anxiety free. Like they've never had to deal with any pressure, any hardships, any whatever. And every time they do have to, like, they were coddled. And every time they do have to deal with something, it's an extreme. That's what I noticed before. But now also with people who smoked way too much weed, like if you look at people who are like, once again, like 50, 60, 70, they smoked way too much weed in their life. Like they continuously smoke weed from, back, and then now they're still doing it. They eventually learn to deal with stress, but at a certain point in time, you'll notice they didn't deal with stress very well, because when they weren't stressed out, when things weren't going bad, they smoked weed all the time, and they did not have this habit of having to deal with anything. So they either freaked out or did something maybe malicious, right? Maybe like, oh, things are bad, I'm gonna steal. Or, I'm not saying weed makes you steal, but I'm saying the inability to deal with hardship, to be resourceful, sometimes leads people to do things that are unsavory. I'm saying weed or antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, those especially, and I'm going to say, like, I'm not saying like girls versus boys, but um, I like if you don't have some natural backup, right? Like young people is one thing, but if you don't have an ability to deal with that kind of stress and stuff when you get older, especially when you're not a girl, that's when people do bad stuff. I only say the difference with women is because they're less like they don't have a natural um, physical advantage. I mean, they can train themselves to a physical advantage, but they usually don't have a natural physical advantage that so trumps somebody else all the time that that is their go-to for a solution. So they might sometimes, if you've seen people become compulsive liars. I've had to deal with that a lot in my lifetime, and that is probably one of the worst things I've ever had to deal with. But you see women who become compulsive liars, or they become moochers, or they steal or whatever. I noticed that from people who can't deal very well with anxiety, or they lash out on people who are very close to them that they love, in order to get their way more often. Right? They like freak out all the damn time. I noticed that from people who can't deal very well with anxiety and stress or whatever. And these are the same people when you have a conversation with them and, they don't agree with you or whatever. What do? They spaz. They freak out, they melt down, or they shut down. It's all fight or flight, in my opinion. Like, I don't think there's a different reason for each one. I do think to freak out, when people freak out and they throw stuff and they scream and whatever, I think those people who go that far, because they're not actually expecting anybody to fight them back. Though that's something that you have to notice with these people who freak out. A lot of these people who freak out and they throw stuff, and even when they swing or whatever, like swing on someone or whatever, and cuss at someone, get all in their face and yell at them for whatever reason, these people are cowards. And they are not expecting anybody to hit them back. Go look at some of those YouTube videos with the freakouts and stuff. It'll be maybe like a girl, or it'll be some guy, but he's yelling in some woman's face, or he's yelling in someone's face who knows, like, absolutely, like, for example, like this is a speaker, this is somebody with a platform, this is a politician or whatever. They know that person is not going to hit them. So they go balls to the wall and freak out on them. So there is some conscientious thought to it. It's not like they're just freaking out and their brains completely cracked. They know better to a certain extent. They just thought that there weren't going to be any immediate consequences. And every now and then what happens, they get knocked upside the head, or the cops come and then now they're the bad guy, or they lose their job and they weren't expecting that because for some reason they're all in these bubbles where they believe everybody agrees with them. And I think that's another small reason people have these freakouts. Like they're around all these other people who agree with them, that coddle them, who believe the way they believe. And as soon as they step outside that bubble, Lord help them, because they don't know how to handle that stress. They don't know how to deal with people who think differently than them do. Sometimes it's even people that they support. Like they'll be trying to stand up for black people's rights, and then the black person will be like, dude, no, you're wrong. What the hell are you talking about? And they'll be like, well, you're not a real black person, or, no, you're wrong because I have a black friend who's, friends with a cousin of mine. And, he told me this, and it's like, what the hell are you talking? Like, it's weird. Like, rational people don't think that way. They don't. And some people think very different ways. Like, I don't agree with a lot of Republicans or conservatives or whatever. I mean, I agree on certain things like, less government, more rights. But as far as some other things people say, especially when it comes to race subjects, I disagree a lot. I disagree with a lot of people. I'm just disagreeable, but the point is I have my own unique perspectives. Everybody does. People are unique individuals, and that doesn't mean they're, special or, they deserve a star or whatever. Yeah, everybody is unique and they have their own unique opinions, but sometimes those unique opinions band together in something that's better for everybody, 99% of people. And some people, they're misinformed, and because they're misinformed, they can't handle it. That's weird. And if you have a different opinion, or you have your own opinion on what this is, feel free to comment below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, if you didn't check out Magnum Creed, please check it out. And God bless you. Have a great day. If you have a subject you want me to talk about, I like number 7. Number 7 is a cool number for me. So if you have a episode or a subject you want me to talk about, feel free to comment. If you have, something you want me to say, I kind of hope for love in the comment section. But if you don't like anything I said, feel free to comment about that too. I just ask that you be civil about it. Peace out.